Morning, everybody. Make sure everybody can hear me. My name is Adam, and I'm the owner of the company AdvancedDimensions.com, and we specialize in these laser measurement tools that I'm going to just about ready to show you. This is a particularly cool one. They just came out with this one back in March, around March or kind of spilling into April, May actually, but. The beauty of this one is it kind of combines the handheld measurement tools that Leica offers that are a little lower end, and the 3D measurement tool that it has is a little higher end. It's kind of a nice little middle of the road. Gives you a lot of functionality both in the handheld and also with the three-dimensional aspects, and then it kind of gives you the ability to take what you've measured in the field and like import it into like a CAD DXF file, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But first things first, I kind of want to just go over what the tool that I'm talking about. We're talking about the S910, and you can buy the tool individually, but we really highly recommend that you buy a kit version of it. It's like an extra, but it's like an extra like $250, I think. But it comes with a tripod, and it comes with an adapter for the tripod so that you can mount the disto unit on there, and the disto and a target plate, and it comes with a case. So the beauty of this tool is really when it's mounted to a tripod, it gives you a lot of functionality. When it's not mounted to a tripod, there can be some it's harder to operate the machine or operate the tool when you're doing like three-dimensional functions. But I can kind of go over each thing, and so I'm going to just have Ryan move that picture out of the way and kind of get into the tool itself. So what you see in front of you is the S910, and it's just resting in the tripod right now. I was just going to kind of go over the basic unit. So this unit is the same size as the D810 Touch. You can see it's I got fairly decent sized hands, but it's not too terrible bad. And then it operates just like the handheld unit. If I turn this thing on, kind of goes through a little boot up startup screen. Seems like the more expensive these things are, the longer this screen takes. But in this mode, when it's not mounted to the tripod, what I can do is I can just click the disto button and take a measurement, and it measures from the back of the device to the laser point, which was on the ceiling, which is what all of our other handheld measurement Leica tools do. But the beauty in this one is it has basically like a column that drops down. It allows you to take angles. With all the other units, right at the top screen here, you can kind of get a glimpse. There's an angle on that screen. That angle is measuring when this unit tilts vertically. But previously, there was no way to measure when the angle was tilting horizontally. With this unit, they've installed this column, which basically you can lock it when it's in normal mode, and then when it goes into this three-dimensional type mode, it has this column that comes down. I'm trying to stay on screen here. And when the disto rotates on the column horizontally and vertically, it's able to calculate the angles from it. So very powerful. It's doing everything like X, Y, Z, a lot of trigonometry in the background. So I'm gonna mount this to the tripod right now, just so that when I'm showing you things on the unit, it's not going to be shaking all over the place like I'm doing right now. So this literally just screws on. So I'm just screwing the bottom plate on, and once it's mounted, it's set. The nice thing with this unit, as opposed to all the other units when you mount them onto a tripod, is with the other units, you have to go through settings to say, hey, the unit's on a tripod. You got to take into account offsets and stuff to reposition the unit, because typically the unit's measuring from the back of from the bottom of the device. but when you're mounted onto a tripod, it's measuring from this point right here. So, you know, all those angles can kind of affect things greatly, especially pushing long distances. So what this unit is, as soon as you drop that column down, the unit, it puts it into like a tripod mode, and you can see that little screen there with the column coming down. It automatically sets everything up. There's no buttons that you need to do. Very nice. Very nice feature. So I'm going to kind of just go over the basics, and then I'll get into a little bit more the three-dimensional aspect of things. So if I go into, the screen that we're seeing now just has the measurement that I just took. If I wanted to take another measurement, I can just hit the distance measurement button, and it'll keep taking dimensions as long as I want. To get into the functions a little bit, I'm just going to hit the function button. And this gives me basically a list of all the functions that this unit can do. If you are familiar with the D810 Touch at all, a lot of the features and functions that the D810 Touch has, the S910 has as well, but then it has kind of added about 5 or 6 different other features that give you that three-dimensional capabilities. So, and I can, if anybody's interested in the differences between the D810 Touch and the S910, I can go over those, you know, on the phone or something like that. So I'm going to just get into some of the features specific to the S910 that kind of make it a cut above the rest. One feature that you can do that you cannot do with any other disto is this. It's called a point-to-point measurement. Now, similar to the D810 Touch, if you have a question about any of these features, you just got to click the question mark. There's a question mark right here. I'm just going to click that button, and this will tell you, give you a little picture or a little text description to tell you kind of what this feature does. So previously, other than a horizontal or a vertical, there was really no way to measure between two separate points while the unit was on a tripod and to get that measurement. With this unit, because it's calculating the X, Y, and Z and the horizontal and the vertical angle, you're able to get a point-to-point dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the point-to-point. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. I'm going to click that button, touch it, click it, either way. And it's asking me for the first point. You can see point number 1. Now, what's handy about this unit is it has a built-in viewfinder. Right now I'm pointing at the ceiling, so it looks pretty dark, but I can zoom in. So along that wall over there, there is a, I don't know if you can see it in the viewfinder, there's a window. I want to measure the width of the window. So I'm just going to pick a point on, let's do the top here. I'm going to pick a point at the top corner, and I'm going to pick a point at the other top corner, the left and the right. And then granted, I'm going quickly for the demonstration, but what it's done is it's taken those 2 points, it's calculated the angles, and it's told me that the distance between those 2 points, if you were to pull a straight line between the 2 points that I just took, is 79 and 23/30 seconds. Very powerful if you are outside, if you're having a really hard time getting a dimension that's angled or something like that. Very powerful feature for that, and that's one of the things that's unique to the S910. Something else which is pretty phenomenal is you can actually calculate with this unit, you can calculate the angles between walls. So I'm looking right now in my office to see, we kind of set this up in a different spot. So I'm going to just click OK. And I'm going to measure a point on one wall. I'm going to measure a point, the point in between the 2 walls, so basically the corner. And I'm going to measure another point on the adjacent wall. So 3 points is what I measured. And it goes through with those 3 points and it calculates the angle between those 2 walls. So if you had, kitchen that had 45s in it, or you had something like that that you needed to calculate the angles. I used to take a Bosch angle finder with me, a digital angle finder with me, to a job site, and I would calculate those angles. But the problem with that is, it's only 2 feet wide or 2 feet long, so that the accuracy on it is only within that 2 feet. With this one, it's nice because you don't have to carry an additional tool. You can do it all with the same tool, and you can take this, take it out with the tripod and do those angle calculations, and it gives you an accurate result. That's another unique thing with the S910. Something else that's kind of cool. I'm not sure in terms of I'm from a woodworking background. I've gone out, I go out and do field verification for kitchens, for millwork related things. I don't really get into square footages and that kind of stuff, but there's some people out there who need to go take, squares for a roof or something like that. You need to know how many roofing squares you need. This has a feature where you can take a series of points, and it doesn't have to be in the same plane or anything. You can kind of see this picture here. It's taking 4 points on this roof, and it tells us what the area is. So that's a unique feature to the S910, and it's very very cool. A couple other features that are handy, and these two features are available. There's actually 3 features with this, but they're all available with the D810 Touch, but they're kind of handy and not too many people know about them. What this feature is you can take a measurement with a picture, and what that means is, try and get this. So what this means is you can see there's 2 arrows on the screen, and it's asking me to take a perpendicular shot. So I'm going to try and do this without too much glare. There we go. What's going to happen is I'm going to take a shot. It's kind of funky. At a perpendicular. Doesn't really even have to be at a perpendicular. And this, it kind of scales. With that one dimension, it kind of scales the dimension that's between these 2 arrows. So now I can kind of zoom this arrow in and zoom this arrow in, and you can see down here it's only 15 inches. So it's really handy if you're having a hard time seeing something, you can take a picture and then have that measurement. Pretty cool. There's also a couple other features similar to that, where you can measure you can do a column or a tree, and then they have one where you can get the height and the depth, or the height and the width. All right, now let's get into the nitty-gritty a little bit better. So here's the DXF feature. Now what this is basically it allows you to take XYZ points and export them to a DXF file. So when you first hit go, basically has you do some, looks like I have, might need to do a little house cleaning here. I think I just got an error that said I had too many DXF files. So I'm just going to clean up some of these DXF files. Yes, I can actually delete these. Delete, I'm just deleting a couple. You can only have so many on here. Once you connect it to your computer, you can take it off. But I was at the IWF, which I think I met a lot of you guys at, and I was doing a lot of demos, so I'm just getting rid of them. All right, that should give us enough to go with. So go back. All right, so now get back to here. So I'm going to just pick the DSX feature. It's going to have me go through a series of leveling. So right now I'm just going to level this. And then it gives me a check mark to say that it's okay. And we got to rotate this by 90. And then I'm going to rotate it by 90 one more time. And this basically is like a self-leveling procedure with the disto unit. This will go through and now once it's done, I'm being very gentle with this assembly because you don't want to bump it or move it because then it'll throw off your measurements. You can see on the screen it says 0.1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Ryan kind of follow me around with the camera and picking a couple of points on the wall and kind of get. So I'm just going to kind of go around the room a little bit, starting with one corner and kind of just work my way around. So I pick a point in the corner. And say I want to locate maybe where this window is in terms of the width, so I'll take a point there. And I'm going to take a point on this wall with, let's locate this window. So really I can take up to 30 points with this unit. And what's happening is it's taking the X, Y, Z. So right now that's going to seem like a straight line in CAD. But if I wanted to, I can come down and maybe hit a point on the floor. Get Ryan to catch up with me. So I just hit that point on the floor, and now I want to go through and maybe take a couple points on the curved wall. Now, we have a 3D disto, which is the unit that's up from here. If you're doing quite a lot of templating or anything like that, the 3D disto is much better for that. However, this will work. The 3D disto is engineered for automatic scanning, and right now I'm having to make sure that I'm staying on the same line. I just kind of want to show you guys what it can do. So I can take up to 30 points. Let's take a couple points on the opposite wall here so you can see when I open up the CAD file. Oh yeah. Ryan just reminded me, when you turn the viewfinder on, what happens is, and I'm going to take a couple more points just because of it. What happens is you actually take a picture at every point that you take, which is pretty awesome. So you can literally just I'm just keeping going with some of these things because I want you guys to see the pictures. So say I want to locate an outlet. I'm really going fast too for the webinar. And then I'm just going to hit one more point on an opposite wall so that we can kind of see how the room goes around. Once I'm done with that, so I got 20 points. It's taken some pictures. I should have had that on the whole time. And when I'm done and I'm ready to go, if you go to 30, it just automatically saves. But we went to 20. I'm just going to click the save, and it'll say 20 points file. Saves it with a date and the time that it was done. And then when you're done with that, you're going to take a micro USB, and you're going to attach it to the side of the unit. You can see there's a USB adapter. And then I'm going to take this unit and connect it. I'm just going to move it and connect it to, where am I going to connect it? Oh, can I go down there?
Yep.
And I'm going to show you what this file looks like. So this is what happens when you export it. What you get is DXF exports. Here's all the files that I had in there. I deleted a bunch to fit them, to fit this one. And the one that I just took is this guy. When I open it up, it gives me a couple of different options here. So we have a 2D G, a 2D W, and a 3D file. The G basically is like a floor plan, the W is like an elevation, and then the 3D file is all the points in 3D. And then it actually gives me these images as well, so you can rifle through and see what points you were taking and where the images, what I was hitting which is pretty handy. If you leave that viewfinder on, I just figured this out a couple of webinars ago, and if you leave that viewfinder on the whole time, it literally saves each picture, which is pretty awesome. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up this three-dimensional DXF file. We have DWG TrueView installed on Ryan's computer because he's not really into CAD. He just does the disto stuff. But this is kind of handy. It's a free AutoCAD viewer basically for DXF files or DWG files. And the beauty of it is, or the nice thing with it is, number one, it's free. And the other thing is you can install it on as many devices as you want. So if you want to see kind of what's going on, you can get an idea with this just like you would. This is exactly what you would see in AutoCAD. It's just this free viewer. So when I have it in my AutoCAD, I can manipulate it. I can erase the lines. I can change the point styles. I can do all that kind of stuff. But with the viewer, it's nice because it gives you an idea. So what happens is every point that we take, so here's the first point we took, second point, this was locating the windows. I couldn't get a point on that wall, but it's really, if I were to chamfer between these two, that's that wall corner. So every point that you see is when I actually snapped the measurement. And then when it goes between the 2 points, it draws a line. So I went along that one wall, located the windows, I came down, I hit the floor, and then I hit a couple points on that curve, came back, I hit the wall on the adjacent area, point on that wall, and then kind of around where that door is. What I'm going to do now is show you what happens in like the three-dimensional aspect of it. So when I start to rotate this, you'll see that each point I took was an X, Y, Z. So I kind of went speedily through this demonstration, but if you take your time and go through a room, you can really get, you can recreate that room very nicely. It's limited to those 30 points, but you can do a lot with 30 points. You'd be surprised. So if just to give you an idea of what I would use this for, because usually when I do shop drawings, I'll do the drawings first, and then I'll go and field verify stuff. So when I'm coming back with a field verified file, I'm just using the measurement tool to say, okay, well, what's the distance between this wall and this wall? And it tells you, what that distance is. So you're using the measurement feature more than you're like taking this and importing it into CAD and drawing over it. That's really not in the way I do things. That's not really the way it works for us. So pretty cool. You can do like ID point. I think you can do ID points with this. TrueView is not my forte, so pretty sure you can do a measurement. I thought you could do ID points, but so I can measure between here and between here is the ceiling height. And I know this just because, and 96 is pretty much what it is. I know this because I took the measurements. And then so you can just use this to figure out various things. But it's kind of cool in the three-dimensionals. And let me show you what the 2Ds look like. This would be if you wanted to do like a countertop template or something like that. This, doing AutoCAD commands here and it's not working. So this, if I were to rotate it, it's all flattened. So nice thing with this though is if you wanted to measure like angles between walls or something like that, I could do an angle between here and an angle between here, and now that they're coplanar, it tells you what that is. Pretty handy in that respect. And then the other one, which is that 2DW, is like I said before, it's like an elevation. So that's handy when you're doing, that basically, if you were to look at this from the side, that's what you're seeing. So that's what the S910 can do in terms of the AutoCAD exports or DXF exports. Very, very awesome. And there is a way, there's a software that Leica makes called the Leica DISTO Transfer 5.0. And what that is, you don't have that installed on this computer, do you? What that is it basically communicates directly to your PC from the unit, and there is a way to get it to import directly to AutoCAD, and then when you're doing it that way, you can take unlimited points. There is some setup involved on your end in terms of getting it set the way you want it. It's kind of like custom commands in AutoCAD. You got to tweak them just right so that it's doing what you want it to do and kind of how you want it to do it. But there is definitely a way to do that. The nice thing with the S910 is it will communicate with your it will communicate via Bluetooth or communicate via Wi-Fi, or you can yeah, either one of those. And then, so with the Bluetooth, you can connect it to like a smartphone application. There's a Leica DISTO Sketch where you can take a picture and transfer the measurements via Bluetooth, and it's pretty powerful in that sense as well, just like all the other Bluetooth models that Leica has. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell for just the S910 specific things. I can get into the other forms and features, and I have some other webinars that we can share with people that kind of go into the other applications. But I could make an hour-and-a-half presentation, but you guys have better things to do, and keep it short for you guys. So right now we're going to kind of open it up and see if there's any questions. Looks like we got one at the top here. What about the accuracy for countertop templating? So this unit is accurate to plus or minus a millimeter over 800 feet. But and that's the unit as a whole. When you're doing the countertop templating, your procedure has to be pretty have to be spot on, but like, you know how I was saying before, how, you know, if you shake the unit or, you know, you jiggle it or something like that when you're taking measurements, you can have some issues. That's what you kind of have to watch out for when you're doing countertop templating. The other thing is, like with the 3D disto, it will automatically hold the level. When you're doing like countertop templating, it'll hold a horizontal or a vertical. With this unit, you would have to do that all manually. So again, with the 3D, it'll do it in increments. This one, you would be doing the increments manually. So it's really not suggested for countertop templating, although in a pinch, it definitely does work. I would definitely, if you're doing a ton of countertop templating, I would go for the 3D. It'll pay for itself much faster than this would. Let's see if there's any other, and I can go into detail with that after the webinar if we needed to. Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. The beauty of this tool is, you know, it's pretty compact. You can throw it in a backpack with the tripod and the other stuff. And I do a lot of measuring in New York City where you got to park, you know, 10, 15 blocks away from your job. It's great for that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you have any questions, please give us a call.